The polished marble floor of the kitchen is cold beneath my bare feet, a familiar and grounding chill that has always felt like a secret shared between me and this house. It is a stark contrast to the warmth and noise spilling from the grand living room, where the clinking of crystal and the low, cultured hum of 24 conversations form the soundtrack of our life. My life. The one I have built, piece by perfect piece, with Charles. The air in here is thick with the lingering scent of seared scallops and reduced balsamic, a testament to a successful dinner now gliding towards its dessert course. I should be out there, playing the hostess, my hand resting lightly on a guest's arm, my laugh a delicate chime in the cacophony. But I am here, frozen by the sink, holding a single, spotless water glass that I cannot seem to put down. My reflection stares back from the dark window over the sink, a ghost superimposed on the perfect, manicured lawn outside. The woman in the glass looks the part. The emerald silk of my dress, the one Charles said matched my eyes, drapes exactly as it should. The diamond studs at my ears, a 10th anniversary gift, catch the downlighting with a discreet sparkle. My blonde hair is smoothed into an elegant chignon, not a strand out of place. It is a mask, meticulously applied. But the eyes. The eyes are a different story. They are wide, with a frantic, trapped light that I do not recognize. It started with a phone. His second phone. The one I found tucked into the pocket of a suit jacket he was sending to the charity collection. A simple, stupid mistake. A lapse in the impeccable attention to detail that defines Charles Vance. My Charles, the man who remembers every anniversary, who plans every vacation down to the minute, whose composure is as unshakable as the foundations of this very house. I had not meant to look. It was an accident, my fingers brushing against cold, unfamiliar metal. And then, the screen had lit up with a notification. A name I did not know. A message preview that was not a business memo. A cold knot, hard and sharp, had formed in my stomach then, and it has not left. It has been my constant companion for 3 days, a lodestone of dread pulling me downward. I have been waiting for a sign, any sign that I am a fool, that there is a logical, Charles-like explanation for a secret phone. I have scrutinized his every word, his every touch, searching for a crack in the marble facade of our marriage. And I saw it, just now. Across the crowded living room, I saw him glance at his watch, not the casual check of a man wondering when the soufflés might be served, but a furtive, weighted look. A look that had purpose. A look that was meant for someone who was not me. That was the moment the knot in my stomach tightened into a resolve. I cannot wait. I cannot pretend for another minute. The swing door from the dining room whispers open, and he is there. Charles. He fills the doorway, his broad shoulders straining slightly against the impeccable line of his tailored dinner jacket. He looks every inch the successful man he is. His silvering temples speak of wisdom, not age, and his smile, when he turns it on me, is a practiced thing of warmth and charm. "There you are," he says, his voice a smooth baritone that has always settled my nerves. Now, it sets them on edge. People are asking for the hostess. Margaret is about to launch into her story about the Tuscan villa again, and you know she requires your full audience to appreciate her own wit. He moves toward the wine fridge, his back to me. It is the opening I need. The kitchen is our space, neutral territory. Out there, we are a performance. In here, we are supposed to be real. "Charles," my voice is quieter than I intended, a thread of sound in the large, sterile room. He pauses, a bottle of expensive Sauterne in his hand. "Yes, my love." The endearment, usually a balm, feels like a lie. It coats my tongue with a bitter taste. I make myself turn, leaning back against the cold granite of the island, the glass still clutched in my hand like a weapon I do not know how to use. "I was tidying your study yesterday," I begin, forcing my tone to be light, conversational. The lie comes easily, a necessary evil. For the charity pickup, I found something curious. He does not turn around. He is studying the label on the wine bottle with an intensity it does not deserve. "Oh. A jacket, in the donation pile. I thought it was a mistake, it was one of your better ones." I watch the line of his shoulders, the way they tense almost imperceptibly. There was something in the pocket. Now he turns. His face is a mask of pleasant curiosity, but his eyes, those pale blue eyes I have gazed into for 15 years, are guarded. "Was there? I am always leaving receipts in my pockets. You would think I would learn." It was not a receipt. I hold his gaze. The air between us crackles, silent and hot. It was a phone, Charles, a phone I have never seen before. The silence that follows is profound. The noise from the party seems to recede, muffled by the sudden, thick tension in the kitchen. He places the bottle of wine on the counter with a deliberate, soft thud. The gesture is controlled, but I see the slight tremor in his fingers before he curls them into a fist. "Ah," he says, the single syllable is heavy, final. He runs a hand through his perfect hair, a rare, unscripted gesture of agitation. It is nothing, Grace, an old work phone from the Henderson merger. The security team insisted on burners for everyone. I must have forgotten to dispose of it properly. I will take care of it. He takes a step toward me, his smile back in place, but it does not reach his eyes. It is a dismissal. A smooth, polished dismissal designed to shut down the conversation. This is the Charles who closes multi-million-dollar deals, the man who navigates boardroom politics without breaking a sweat. He is using those skills on me. The cold knot in my stomach dissolves, but what rushes in to take its place is not relief. It is a freezing, clarifying fury. It is so cold it burns. He is lying. I can see it in the tiny muscle twitching near his jawline. I can hear it in the too casual, too rehearsed explanation. A work phone, for a merger that concluded 6 months ago, and the notification, the name Luna, that was not a security team memo. An old work phone, I repeat, my voice flat. I am a statue of ice. I see. Yes, he says, his tone firmer now, laced with a hint of impatience. That is all it is. You know how paranoid those security fellows can be. Now, can we please return to our guests? They will think we have abandoned them. He reaches out to touch my arm, a gesture meant to be reassuring, to guide me back into the fold. But the moment his fingers make contact with my skin, I flinch. It is an involuntary reaction, a visceral recoil from the man who is suddenly a stranger. The touch, my reaction, it changes everything. His face hardens. The pleasant mask slips entirely, revealing something colder, sharper beneath. The impatience in his eyes flares into something darker, something like anger. "Grace," he says, his voice dropping, losing its smoothness, becoming a low, sharp whisper. "What is this? What are you trying to imply?" This is the stark contrast. This is the shift I feared and perversely hoped for. The unshakable composure is gone, replaced by a defensive, dismissive sharpness. It is the confirmation that shatters the world. The floor feels less solid beneath my feet. The perfectly arranged kitchen seems to tilt on its axis. "I am not implying anything," I say, and I am amazed at how steady my voice is. The cold fury is a shield, locking my emotions away, preserving me for the performance I must still give. I found a phone. I asked a question. It is a simple thing. "It is not a simple thing," he snaps, his eyes narrowing. "It is an accusation in your tone. I will not have this. Not here, not now." He takes another step closer, invading my space. The scent of his cologne, usually a comfort, is now cloying, oppressive. "We have a house full of people. This is not the time for your suspicions." Your suspicions. The words hang in the air, toxic and condescending. He has reframed it. My discovery is now my paranoia. My evidence is now my instability. The cold fury inside me crystallizes into a hard, sharp point. I look at him, at the man I have loved, the man I have built a life with, and I see a strategist assessing damage control. I am no longer his wife. I am a problem to be managed. I force my lips to curve upward. It is the most difficult physical action I have ever performed. I set the water glass down on the counter, the click of crystal on granite unnaturally loud in the tense silence. "You are right," I say, my voice a whisper of silk. "It is not the time. Our guests are waiting." I see a flicker of surprise in his eyes, followed by a wave of relief. He thinks he has won. He thinks he has placated me, shut down the inconvenient wife. He offers his arm, the gentleman once more. I look at his proffered elbow, and for a heartbeat, I consider taking it. I consider walking back into that room and playing my part. But I cannot. Not yet. I meet his eyes, and I let him see a fraction of the ice that has formed in my soul. "I will be along in a moment," I tell him, my voice dropping to a near whisper. "There is one more thing I need to check." His relief falters, replaced by a fresh wariness. He searches my face, but my expression is as smooth and unreadable as the marble floor. He gives a curt nod, a silent command to be quick, and turns, pushing through the swing door back into the roar of the party. The door swings shut and I am alone again. The silence rushes back in, but it is different now. It is charged. I wait until the door is still. Then I walk on my cold, bare feet to the kitchen desk, to my own laptop, sitting innocently beside a stack of cookbooks. My heart is a drum in my chest, a frantic, terrified beat, but my hands are steady as I open it. He thinks he has contained this. He thinks I am the same Grace who would swallow her doubts for the sake of appearances. He is wrong. The screen glows to life, illuminating my determined face. I open a search engine. My fingers hover over the keys. There is one name burning in my mind, a name that holds the key to the ruin of my life. I type a single word, the letters stark and accusing in the search bar. Luna. The silence in the house was a physical thing, a heavy blanket smothering every familiar sound. I stood at the sink, my hands gripping the cold porcelain, staring out into a backyard that seemed to belong to someone else. The dinner dishes were done, put away with a quiet finality. The children were upstairs, their laughter from earlier a ghostly echo in the hall, and I was waiting. The phone in my pocket was a lead weight, a repository of evidence that had already begun to rot my life from the inside out. Every creak of the floorboards, every hum of the refrigerator was a countdown. I had rehearsed the words 100 times. I would be calm. I would be rational. I would say, "Charles, we need to talk." And I would place the phone on the table between us like a lawyer presenting Exhibit A, but as I heard the key turn in the front door, the careful script I had written in my mind dissolved into a white-hot static of fear and rage. He walked in, his shoulders slightly stooped with the fatigue of a long day, a man coming home to his castle. He dropped his briefcase by the door with a familiar thud and offered me a small, tired smile. "Long day. Is there any of that coffee left?" I could not speak. I could only watch him, this stranger I had shared a bed with for 15 years. I searched his face for a sign, a flicker of guilt, but I saw only the usual end-of-day weariness. It was that normalcy, that seamless performance, that made the bile rise in my throat. "Grace, are you all right?" he asked, his smile fading into a look of concern. He took a step toward me and I flinched back. The movement was small, but he saw it. His eyes narrowed. "We need to talk," I finally managed, my voice a thin, strained thread of sound. It was not the calm, controlled opening I had planned. "Of course, what is it? Is it one of the kids?" he asked, his tone shifting into problem-solving mode, the mode I had always found so reassuring. Now it felt like an insult. "Not the kids." I pulled the phone from my pocket. My hand was trembling. I willed it to stop, but it would not obey. "It is this." I held it out, the screen dark. He looked from my face to the phone and back again, a confused frown creasing his forehead. "My phone? What about it? I thought I left it in my office." "You did," I said. The words were coming easier now, fueled by a cold fire. "I found it, and I found her." The change in the atmosphere was instantaneous. The air in the kitchen grew thick and charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. The color drained from his face, leaving a waxy, pale mask. The concerned husband vanished, replaced by a man cornered. He did not speak. He did not need to. His silence was the most profound confession I could have imagined. "Do not bother to deny it," I continued, my voice gaining strength from his shock. "I have read everything, every message, every pet name." The words felt filthy in my mouth. "Lily, who is Lily, Charles?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of agitation I knew so well, but now it was tainted, a performance for his mistress, perhaps, rehearsed and repeated. "Grace, I can explain." "Explain what?" I heard my voice rise, sharp and brittle. "Explain how you have been lying to me for months. Explain how you could sit at this very table, across from your children, and text her. Explain what you were thinking when you told me you loved me last night, knowing you had just come from her." "It is not what you think," he burst out, a desperate, pathetic plea. "What is it then?" I shot back, advancing on him. "Is it some kind of business arrangement, a community service project? Tell me, Charles, what other explanation could there possibly be for the things you wrote to her?" He backed away until his legs hit one of the kitchen chairs. He sank into it, his body collapsing under a weight I could not see. He dropped his head into his hands. The clock on the wall ticked, each second a hammer blow in the silence. I stood over him, waiting, my entire body trembling with the effort of containing the scream that was building inside me. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red-rimmed and full of a terrible, weary shame. "It is true," he whispered. There was an affair." The word landed like a physical blow. I had known it, of course. I had seen the proof. But hearing him say it, hearing the admission pass his lips in this house, our house, made it real in a way that the texts never could. The ground beneath me felt unsteady. I gripped the edge of the table to keep from falling. "How long?" The question was a rasp. "A few months, since the Henderson conference in the spring." Months. He had been living a double life for months, sharing secrets, intimacies, a bed with another woman, while I worried about parent-teacher conferences and what to make for dinner. The mundane horror of it was suffocating. Why? The word was a sob I could not suppress. Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? "No, Grace, no." He looked up at me, his expression pleading. "It was never about you, it was me. It was a mistake, a stupid, terrible mistake. It is over, I swear it is over." A bitter, broken laugh escaped me. "Over? You think that matters now, that it is some kind of consolation prize? Do not worry, darling, I have stopped betraying you." The sarcasm dripped from my words like poison. "You have shattered everything. You have made a mockery of our entire life together." "I know," he said, his voice hollow. "I know what I have done, but you have to believe me, I never wanted to hurt you." "Then you have a very strange way of showing it," I screamed, the control finally snapping. "You lied to me. Every day, with every breath, you lied." "I stayed," he shouted back, suddenly surging to his feet. The chair screeched against the tile floor. His face was contorted with an emotion I could not name, not regret, but a frantic, defensive anger. "That is what you are not seeing, Grace. I stayed. I could have left. I could have packed a bag and walked out and been with her if that was what I wanted. But I did not. I came home. Every single night, I came home to you and to the children." The room went silent again, but this silence was different. It was deeper, more profound. The anger that had been roaring in my ears quieted, replaced by a chilling, crystalline clarity. I stared at him, at this man who thought his presence was a gift, a sacrifice. "You stayed," I repeated slowly, tasting the absurdity of the words. "Yes," he said, his chest heaving. "I stayed for this family, I stayed for us." And in that moment, the second betrayal revealed itself, slithering out from behind the first, far more venomous. The affair was a wound, a deep and grievous injury. But this was an annihilation. He saw my face, the dawning horror, and he mistook it for a chance. "Do you not see?" he continued, his voice softening into that familiar, reasonable tone he used to negotiate contracts. "It was a moment of weakness, a lapse, but my commitment, my real commitment, was always here. With you, I chose this family, I chose you." The foundation of my life, of my understanding of the past 15 years, crumbled to dust. Every anniversary celebration, every quiet evening on the couch, every "I love you" whispered in the dark, had it all been a calculation? A choice he was consciously making, a duty he was performing while his heart or some other part of him was elsewhere. He had not stayed out of love or loyalty or devotion. He had stayed out of obligation. He had framed his infidelity not as a crime against our marriage, but as a testament to it. He had turned his betrayal into his virtue. The pain was so acute it was almost peaceful. I looked at him, and I did not see the man I loved. I saw a strategist, a man who had weighed his options and found us, me, to be the most convenient choice. "You chose us," I said, my voice unnaturally calm. "You chose to stay and lie to my face every day. You chose to let me live in a world that did not exist. You think that is better." "It is not that simple, Grace." "It is exactly that simple." I took a step back, creating a space between us that felt vast and unbridgeable. "The affair, that was you betraying our vows. But this confession, that is you betraying my reality. You let me believe in a lie because it was easier for you than facing the truth. You did not choose me. You used me. You used this family as a shield for your own cowardice." The truth of my own words settled over me, cold and heavy. The anger was gone, replaced by a devastating, bone-deep weariness. I felt 1,000 years old. Charles stared at me, his mouth slightly agape. He had expected tears, shouting, perhaps even a reconciliation built on his twisted narrative of sacrifice. He had not expected this quiet, absolute comprehension. I turned away from him. I could not look at him for another second. I walked out of the kitchen, my steps slow and deliberate, and climbed the stairs. I did not go to our bedroom. I went to the children's hallway and stood between their two closed doors, listening to the soft, even sounds of their breathing. This was the family he had chosen. This was the life he had preserved with his lies. I heard his footsteps on the stairs behind me, hesitant. He stopped at the landing. I did not turn around. "Grace," he said, his voice thick with an emotion that might have been tears. "Please, let us talk about this." I remained facing the children's doors, my back to him, my hand resting on the cool wood of my daughter's doorframe. The life we had built together was a beautiful, intricate sandcastle, and he had just let the tide wash it away, all while telling me he was building a wall to protect it. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to my core, that I could never look at that sandcastle again without seeing the water damage. I took a deep, shuddering breath, the weight of the future pressing down on me. "There is nothing left to say," I whispered to the empty hallway, but the words were meant for him, and they hung in the air between us, a final, terrible judgment. The question of what I would do next hung unspoken, a cliff from which I was now poised to fall. The silence in the dining room was a presence in itself, thick and heavy as the December snow falling outside the bay window. A year. It is a long time, and it is no time at all. The ghost of last Christmas Eve hung between the three of us, a specter at our small, carefully set table. There were only 3 place settings this year. The absence of the fourth was a chasm we had all learned to navigate, but on this night, the anniversary of the shattering, the edges of that chasm felt particularly raw and close. I watched the snowflakes spiral past the glass, each one a tiny, silent tragedy. The house, our old family home, felt different. It was quieter, emptier, but also strangely more honest. The decorative lies had been packed away with the Christmas ornaments we no longer used. There was no towering tree dripping with tinsel, no cheerful music playing. Instead, a single candle flickered in the center of the table, its small, defiant flame the only decoration we could stomach. Grace moved from the kitchen, carrying a simple casserole dish. Her movements were slower now, weighted with a year of grief. The vibrant, bustling woman who had commanded Christmases past was gone, replaced by this quieter, more fragile version. Her eyes, when they met mine, held a deep and permanent sorrow, but also a new clarity, a stark honesty that had not been there before. "It is nothing fancy," she said, her voice soft but clear in the quiet room, "but it is warm." Marcus stood by the fireplace, staring into the empty grate. His shoulders, once perpetually tense with the effort of maintaining a facade, were now simply slumped with a genuine weariness. He had aged a decade in this 1 year. The successful lawyer persona had evaporated, leaving behind a man grappling with the ruins of his own life. He turned, and his gaze swept over the room, over Simone and me, and I saw the same thought in his eyes that was in my own heart. We are still here. Why are we still here? Simone sat beside me, her hand finding mine under the table. Her touch was cool, a steadying anchor. She had been our rock, the quiet center around which our broken pieces had slowly, painfully begun to reassemble into something new. Something cracked and glued, but something that was, at least, real. We sat. The scraping of chairs against the hardwood floor was unnaturally loud. For a long moment, no one moved. We just looked at the food, at the single candle, at anything but each other. The memory of that night was a live wire in the room. It was Marcus who broke the silence. He did not look up from his plate. "I sold the condo last month," he said, his voice low and rough. "The final papers came through yesterday." Grace nodded slowly. "Where will you go?" "I have rented a small place downtown. It is sufficient." He finally lifted his eyes, first to Grace, then to me. "I am sorry I could not be here to help more, with everything." "You have been helping in the ways that you can, Marcus," Grace said. There was no accusation in her tone, only a profound exhaustion. "We are all just surviving." A year ago, those words would have been a weapon. Now they were just the truth. After the letter, after Charles was gone, the business empire he had built began to crumble with terrifying speed. Debts we never knew existed surfaced. Lawsuits followed. The life we had known, funded by a foundation of deceit, collapsed into dust. Marcus had shouldered the legal brunt of it, fighting a battle he knew we could never truly win, just to salvage enough for Grace to keep this house, to have some semblance of stability. "Surviving," I repeated the word, tasting its bitter truth. I do not think I understood what that word really meant before. I felt Simone's hand tighten around mine. "We are doing more than surviving, Lily," she whispered, her voice firm. "We are here, together." I looked at her at the fierce love in her eyes, and I felt a lump form in my throat. She had chosen to stay. When the scandal broke, when the whispers and the headlines painted us all with the same brush, she could have left. She could have gone back to her life in Boston, untouched by the filth of our disgrace. But she stayed. She had held me through the panic attacks that came in the dead of night. She had answered the door to process servers. She had helped Grace sort through the mountains of bills. Her love had become the one thing I knew was not a lie. "Simone is right," Grace said, surprising me. She looked around the table, her gaze lingering on each of us. "This past year, it has been a long, dark night. I have felt a pain I did not think was possible. I loved your father for 35 years. I built my life on that love. And to discover it was all a stage set, a beautiful, intricate fraud," her voice broke, and she took a slow, deliberate breath. "There are days when the anger is so hot I think it will burn me alive. And there are days when the grief is so heavy I cannot get out of bed." Marcus flinched, his own guilt a visible wound. "Grace, She held up a hand, stopping him. "Let me finish, Marcus. I am not saying this to punish you. I am saying it because it is the truth, and we have sworn to each other that we would have nothing but the truth between us from now on, no matter how painful." She straightened her shoulders. "But tonight, sitting here with the three of you, I realize something else. We have endured that long night. We have not broken, not completely." The candle flame danced, casting long, shifting shadows on the walls. Outside, the world was hushed and white. "What Charles did, the betrayal, the lies, it was devastating," Grace continued, her voice gaining a strange, resilient strength. "It broke our family, but it did not destroy us. It forced us to see each other, really see each other, without the money, without the status, without the perfect Christmas card image." She looked at Marcus. "I see my son, who made terrible mistakes out of a twisted sense of loyalty, and who is now trying every day to atone." Her eyes turned to me. "I see my daughter, who has shown a courage and a strength I never knew she possessed." Finally, she smiled, a small, sad but genuine smile, at Simone. "And I see the woman who loved my daughter enough to stay in the wreckage and help her build something new." Tears welled in my eyes, blurring the candlelight. I had not heard my mother speak with such raw, unvarnished honesty in my entire life. Marcus cleared his throat, his own eyes glistening. "There is no undoing what happened. The pain, it is irreversible. I know that. I live with that knowledge every second of every day." He looked at Grace, his expression one of utter remorse. "But if there is a future, any future at all, I want to forge it with you, with both of you. It will not be the future we planned. It will be fragile. It will be hard, but it will be honest." A fragile, honest future. The words hung in the air, a terrifying and beautiful possibility. "I want that too," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I do not want to be defined by his lies anymore. I want us to be defined by what we did after." Grace reached across the table, and I took her hand. It was thin and cool. Then, after a moment's hesitation, Marcus laid his hand on top of ours. His was trembling. Simone completed the circle, her warm, steady grip a promise. We sat like that for a long time, four damaged people connected by a chain of hands, a silent pact made over a simple meal on a somber night. The world outside continued to turn, blanketed in snow, but in that room, for the first time in a year, I felt a flicker of something that was not pain. It was not quite hope, not yet. It was the quiet, determined ember of resilience. Later, as Simone and I were washing the dishes in the dim kitchen light, the silence between us was comfortable. The wind had picked up, howling softly around the corners of the house. I was drying the last plate, my mind still wrapped in the emotional weight of the evening, when I noticed it. Propped against the back door, half hidden by Simone's coat, was a small, rectangular package wrapped in plain brown paper. It had not been there when we arrived. "Simone," I said, my voice dropping to a whisper, "did you see this?" She turned, wiping her hands on a towel, her brow furrowed. "No, I did not." I walked over and picked it up. It was not addressed to anyone. There was no postage. It had been hand-delivered. A cold dread, familiar and sharp, trickled down my spine. My fingers trembled as I turned it over. Tucked under a simple piece of tape was a small, white card. On it, in a handwriting I had spent a year trying to forget, a handwriting I had seen on 1,000 legal documents, and on that devastating letter were two words. Two words that made my blood run cold, and my heart stop in my chest. For Lily,